Welcome. So we have some animations, but we still need a few more. So we're going to look into getting some animations from Mixamo and then retargeting those to the Epic skeleton so we can use them for our character. So the first thing we're going to do is look at Mixamo for some free animations. Now here we see Mixamo, which is another good source for free animations. Now, if this is your first time visiting Mixamo, you need a login. So you can create a login for Mixamo for free. So if you haven't yet, go ahead and sign up for free and then log in. Now, once you've logged in, you need to select a character to use. You can choose any one of these, but I'm going to choose this one as it's sort of similar to the Epic Games mannequin. Now we notice it's in a T pose rather than an A pose, which is what the Epic skeleton is posed in, but we'll get to that shortly. Now once you've selected a character you'd like to use, you can download it. So click download, and we need the download in FBX format, and we can leave it in a T pose. So let's click download, and once the download's finished, we can see our FBX here in our downloads folder. So I'm going to add this to my Unreal Learning Kit project. So here's my project, and I have the Anim starter pack here. I'm going to make another folder for Mixamo animations. So I'm simply going to call this folder Mixamo, and in the Mixamo folder, I'm going to make a new folder called character. And here is where I can import that character. So it's got this name here. I'm going to rename it to Mixamo character. And I'm going to import this Mixamo character.fbx. So I'm going to click add import and import to game Mixamo character. I'm going to find that FBX in my downloads folder and click open. And we have some options here. Now I'm going to go ahead and import the skeletal mesh, and I'm not going to select a skeleton as this FBX has its own skeleton. So I'll click import all, and I get the no smoothing group information found error. This is common. This is just because this asset doesn't have smoothing group information. That's okay. We're going to click the X, and I now have this Mixamo character. And notice it has its own Mixamo character skeleton. If I look at this skeleton, I'll notice that the skeleton is similar to the Epic Games skeleton, but the hierarchy and the names are slightly different. So we're going to need to take that into account when retargeting animations. Now, I'll keep the mesh and the skeleton and the materials all in the character folder. And here in Mixamo, I'm going to right-click, create a new folder, and call this animations. So now we can download some Mixamo animations and place them here. So here in Mixamo, I'm going to click on animations. Now, it's important that I use this character that I downloaded. All the animations will be rigged to this particular character. Now, there are a few animations that we're going to need. For one, we need some turning in place animations. So I'm going to search for turn right. And there are plenty of turning animations, but the ones we need are in place. If I select this one called right turn, for example, you'll notice that it's turning the character in place. But we don't want this. We want to turn the character with our own code logic. So we can't use that one. But notice here I see a turn right animation. This is a crouching one. And this one is in place. It's not actually rotating the character. It's just playing the animation. So I can download this one. I'm going to click download, and we need to download the FBX format with skin. It's important that we download it with the skin so it's rigged to the character that we're using. We can leave frames per second at 30 and keyframe reduction at none and click download. And we now have a turn right animation here in our downloads folder. So let's keep searching. We need a turn right crouching animation. Looks like that's what we have here. Let's search for a standing animation, and it looks like we have one here. The character's standing and turning in place to the right. So I'm going to download this one as well and leave all the settings and click download. Now let's find a turn left animation. So I'm going to search for turn left, and I'm going to scroll down and look for more animations using this military guy. And here's a turning left animation in place with the character standing. So I'm going to download this one as well. And now we need a turn left crouching animation. And here's one called turn left. I'm going to download this one. So that takes care of our turning in place for standing and crouching. Now I'd like to download some jump animations. So I'm going to search for jump and see what I can find here. Now here we see jump up and jump down. These are great because the jump up is just the beginning of the jump and jump down is the end. And if we can find an animation for the character in the middle of the jump, then we can use the beginning, middle, and end of the jump separately. So I'm going to download this jump up animation, and I'm going to select the jump down animation and download that one. And I'm going to see if I can find a jump loop where the character is in the middle of the jump. And here's one here. And it looks a little funny because we're just looking at the character hovering, but this is great for when the character is in the middle of the jump, and we can prolong that jump when the character falls from great heights. So I'm going to download this animation as well. Now, we may find ourselves in need of other animations in the future, so we can always come back to Mixamo to get those additional animations. So I'm done with Mixamo for now. I'm going to go ahead and exit. And I now have all of these animations to import into Unreal Engine. So here in the Animations folder, I'm going to click Import and Import to Game Mixamo Animations, and I'm going to select all of these animations. I'm going to click Open, and now we have a skeleton we can select. I'm going to click the drop-down and select Mixamo Character Skeleton. And I don't need to import the mesh, so I'm going to uncheck Import Mesh and click Import All. So now that I've imported the animations, I'm noticing that each animation has been imported twice, and the second version of each animation has take 001 at the end. And if I look at this animation, it's just the character in the T-pose. So we don't need those. I'm going to select each animation with take 001 and simply delete these. Now I can force delete them since we're not going to reference them with any other assets. Now what's remaining are the animations that I've downloaded, and I can open these to see what they look like. They're using the Mixamo character. So this is great. These animations look pretty good, but I'd like all of our animations rigged to the same character. Now I've found that it's easiest to retarget these to the Epic Games mannequin skeleton. That's the one that our animation starter pack is using. So I'd like to retarget the animations from the Mixamo skeleton to the Epic UE4 mannequin skeleton. Now there are a few things we need to set up to do this. For one, I have my UE4 mannequin skeleton open here, and I can get to that in the UE4 mannequin folder in Anim Starter Pack and going to Mesh, and here's UE4 mannequin skeleton. Now, if you don't have the Retarget Manager tab, you can go to Window and check Retarget Manager. Now, we need to set this up for retargeting. Now, the way we can do this is to go to Setup Rig, and for Select Rig, open the drop-down and select Humanoid Rig. Now notice that the Epic character has all of its bones mapped to this rig. Now a rig is just an asset that allows you to map a skeleton's bones to a list, and this list is identical to the Epic character bones. So we don't need to change anything here for the Epic character. All we need to do is click Save, but we need our Mixamo character to use this humanoid rig. So with the Retarget Manager open in our Mixamo skeleton, we can select Rig, open that dropdown, and choose the humanoid rig. Notice that none of the Mixamo bones are mapped to the humanoid rig, and that's because the Mixamo skeleton uses different names for its bones, and the hierarchy isn't exactly the same. So we need to choose the bones in the Mixamo skeleton that we'd like to map to this list of bones in the humanoid rig. Now, I've included a PDF in the resources for this lecture, and this shows which bones should be mapped to the humanoid rig. We're going to select the Mixamo bones in the right column to map to each of these bones in the list for the humanoid rig. So I'm going to quickly do this, and you can use the list to do the same. And I'm going to time-lapse this video. Now, once you've finished with this list, if you click Show Advanced, you'll see a list of more bones, and these are for the fingers and some of the smaller bones. So I'm going to go through this entire list and set these up as well. Now, once you get to the IK bones, you can leave those all as none, as well as the custom bones. And once we've set up this entire rig, we can click Save. And we've now mapped our Mixamo skeleton to the humanoid rig. Now we're ready to retarget some animations to this UE4 mannequin skeleton. Now this can be where it gets tricky because they're in different poses. Now we could move the Mixamo character skeleton by moving the arms into an A pose so it matches the mannequin. But I found that it's easier to place the mannequin into a T pose. So that's what we're going to do. Now I'm going to select the skeleton tree here with our UE4 mannequin skeleton and take the upper arm L bone and move it up by 45 degrees. Now to move it up by 45, I'm going to set snapping increments to 5 degrees and move this up. I'll do the same for the upper arm R bone, so 45 degrees up. And I'm also going to take the arm and straighten it out a bit. So I'm going to take the lower arm L bone and extend this by 10 degrees. Now these are numbers I've found work through trial and error. So once I've extended the arms by 10 degrees, I'm going to go back to Retarget Manager, click Modify Pose, and use Current Pose, and click Save. Now up here next to Details, click Preview Scene Settings. We see that under Mesh, we have this Preview Mesh, and it's set to the SK mannequin. This has to be set for retargeting to work. Let's go back to the Mixamo skeleton and select Preview Scene Settings, and we see that it's using the Mixamo character, but we need to apply it to the asset. So make sure to click Apply to Asset. Now that both characters are using the humanoid rig, and we've posed the mannequin to roughly match the Mixamo pose, we can retarget the Mixamo animations. So let's go to our Mixamo animations folder here. Now let's test this out with a single animation to see how it looks. I'm going to use the turn left Mixamo animation, right-click, retarget anim assets, duplicate anim assets and retarget, and I'm going to select the UE4 mannequin skeleton and click retarget. Now it retargets the animation and sticks it directly in the content folder. I can double-click to look at this, and I see that it looks good. When retargeting, sometimes you'll get some bones misplaced and things might not look great, and if you see that here in the retargeted animation, we can fix that by selecting Options here and click Show Retargeting Options. Now the way to fix this up is to right-click the root bone and recursively set Translation Retargeting to Skeleton. Now once we've done that, we need to take our pelvis here and set its Translation Retargeting to Animation Scaled, and then we can take our root and set its Translation Retargeting to follow the animation. And that should fix any morphed bones, and this should look good now. So I see that the animation pretty much looks good. Now I'm not too concerned with the left arm, as we'll be fixing the left arm placement with IK and the animation blueprint. So as long as the animation looks pretty decent, I think we're good. So I'm going to save that and close it. And we can retarget the rest of the Mixamo animations. So I don't need the turn left Mixamo.com one, so I'm going to go back and select all of these except for that one I already retargeted, and right-click, retarget anim assets, duplicate anim assets, and retarget, and select the UE4 mannequin, and click retarget. Now in the content folder, all of these animations are retargeted, and I can check them one by one to make sure that they look good. So now that I have these animations, I can place them in my Anim Starter Pack, but in the Anim Starter Pack, I'm going to right-click and create a new folder and call this From Mixamo. That way we know which animations came from the Mixamo website. So here in the content folder, I'm going to select all of these animations and drag them into Anim Starter Pack from Mixamo and click Move Here. And now we have all our retargeted animations. And now all the animations we're using are retargeted to the Epic UE4 mannequin skeleton. This will make it easier when we want to retarget to our Learning Kit Games skeleton. Now the reason we didn't retarget them all directly to this Learning Kit skeleton is because the Learning Kit skeleton is slightly different. I'm going to go to Learning Kit Games, Assets, Characters, Character, and Mesh. To open this SK Epic character skeleton, here's what it looks like. Now for one, it's not in the T-pose, and also you'll notice that this character is a lot lankier, skinnier, and has straighter arms. So we need to make sure that we have our poses set up correctly before retargeting. Now if it's not already set to use the humanoid rig, you're going to want to select the humanoid rig in the Retarget Manager for this skeleton. Now it should be all set up because its skeleton does match the UE4 mannequin exactly. So we don't need to set all the bones for the humanoid rig for this character, but we are going to want to pose this character in a T pose. So let's go to our skeleton tree, select upper arm L, and raise it by 45 degrees. And we'll do the same for upper arm R. And we can select in the Retarget Manager, Modify Pose, use Current Pose. Now we do need to change our mannequin pose just slightly before we retarget from the mannequin to the Learning Kit Games character. Now these adjustments I've found from trial and error as well. And I've found that when we take the upper arm L and rotate it down by 10 degrees and do the same for upper arm R down by 10 degrees, then this works well. But we also need to straighten those arms out a bit more. So I'm going to select lower arm L and straighten it out a bit more by 15 degrees. I'm going to do the same thing for lower arm R, 15 degrees straightened out. Now I'm going to click Retarget Manager, Modify Pose, and use Current Pose. And now I'm going to attempt to retarget these animations to this skeleton here. So in Anim Starter Pack, now I don't need the blend spaces, I don't need the showcase level, and I don't need the animation blueprint or the character blueprint. So I'm going to select those and delete them and select Force Delete. Now all that's left are the animations. Now we can verify that these poses that we're using will work by retargeting a single animation and seeing how it looks. An aim space is great for that because it contains several poses in one. So I'm going to retarget this aim space iron sights. So I'm going to right click, retarget anim assets, duplicate anim assets and retarget, and select SK Epic Character Skeleton and click retarget. Now I'm going to check this animation out and see how it looks. Now I do see some warping with the bones here. So I'm going to show retargeting options, right click on the root, recursively set translation retargeting to skeleton, then set the pelvis to follow animation scaled, and set the root to follow animation. And now it looks like my bones are looking pretty good. So since this animation looks good, I can be pretty confident that the other animations will look good as well. So I'm going to go ahead and retarget all the rest. So back in my Anim Starter Pack folder, I'm going to select all the animations except for the one I just retargeted, and go ahead and retarget these, selecting SK Epic Character Skeleton, and click Retarget. Now I see in the Content folder all of the animations retargeted, and I can move these. Now I'm going to make a new folder for these animations. So I'm going to right-click on Content, create a new folder, and I'm simply going to call this one Assets. And in the Assets folder, I'm going to right-click, create a new folder, and call this Animations. Now I can take all these retargeted animations and move them into my Assets Animations folder. So I'm going to drag them over to Animations, click Move Here, and now they're all here in this Animations folder. I'll go ahead and go to the Anim Starter Pack folder and open From Mixamo and retarget the rest of these as well. So I'll select them, retarget Anim Assets, duplicate and retarget, and select this skeleton and click Retarget. And now I see them here in the Content folder, and I see that they look good. So I can select these and move them into my Assets Animations folder and click Move Here. So now I have a ton of animations to use. Now I'm going to keep my Anim Starter Pack and my Mixamo folders here in this Unreal Engine 4 project. And that way we can work in this whenever we need to retarget animations, and then we can migrate those over to our UE5 project. So we're going to be working in this project more in the future throughout this course, so I recommend that you don't delete this project. Keep these assets here so we can get more animations from Mixamo or any other asset packs that are not compatible with UE5. So now that we have some assets, we're ready to migrate these over. Now, before I do so, let's go ahead and rename those Mixamo animations. So I'm going to search in the animations folder for Mixamo and just give these some better names. For jump down, I'm going to call this one simply jump down. For jump loop, we'll call this one jump loop. Jump up, we'll call jump up. And turn left 1 looks like it's the crouching turn left animation, so we can call this crouch turn left. The standing turn left I can just call turn left. And this one is the crouching turn right, so we'll call this crouch turn right. And this one we can just call turn right. Okay, so we can migrate these over. I'd like to migrate Learning Kit games, so I'm just going to right-click, select Migrate, and click OK, and choose the Blaster Content folder for this. I'm going to right-click the Assets folder and select Migrate and click OK. And I can find my Blaster project and choose the content folder and click Select Folder. And once we've migrated our assets over, I'm done with this UE4 project for now. Again, I'm going to save this project as we'll be adding more assets throughout the course, so I'm simply going to close it. Now that my assets are migrated over to my Unreal Engine 5 project, I'm just going to quickly reorganize my folders. I'm going to drag certain folders into my Assets folder and delete the others that I don't need. Now, I can simply click and drag some of these folders into Assets and select Move Here. Now, once that's finished, sometimes the folder itself will be left behind. If that's the case, Unreal Engine may still have redirectors in that folder. Redirectors are just objects that contain a path to the assets that were in that folder before you moved it. You can right-click on the folder and select Fix Up Redirectors in Folder. After that, you should be able to simply delete that folder, and now that empty folder will be gone. I'm going to move Mannequin over to Assets. Click Move Here. As well as Military Weapon Silver. We'll move that over. And since I'm done with the third person and third person BP, I'm going to go ahead and delete these folders. And I'll go ahead and move the Geometry folder into Assets as well. Now my Assets folder contains all of the assets for my project, and my folder structure is clean. So we now have more assets, and we've retargeted some animations to the Epic skeleton and finally to our Learning Kit character. Now that we have some things that we can work with, we can start developing this game project. Great job. I'll see you soon.